Jim Geddes has something less than a chance.
What is an aspect ratio? Because in this video, we are going to talk about it. Regarding some points like how many aspect ratios are there we can go with, how each and every aspect ratio tells us a different story, and why should we have to be careful about it. Here we go.
Counselor, proceed.
Aspect ratio is the proportion of the height and the width of the screen. Have you ever noticed those black bars over the top and the bottom, or on an old movie, the left and the right of a screen? Now that is an aspect ratio.
अभी भूत बन के आके हमको डरा रहा है।
जी ठीक है।
Now, we have got to know what it is, but here comes the question that asking, why? Why is it important?
There was only one way to find out.
Back in the days where everything was shot on 4:3 aspect ratio because of the TV were made by the same height and width. But since we humans are curious about our limitations, most probably on a group meeting we thought that our eyes don't meant to see on a box. They see wider. However, they came upon a question: how to immerse the audience whenever they see a film. And that's how world's first widescreen movie came out. This was technically not a widescreen movie. They just cut the top and the bottom of the screen and just crop it. Since it wasn't the correct way to do, but people loved it. It was something different. It was something new. It was something immersive, as they wanted to be. But that was not enough for them, so that after some years, we have got Rogue, with its original widescreen cinema experience of 2:76:1. Now that's what I would say, an original widescreen. It was a huge success at that time. In both of critically and commercially, it used to be a milestone. And also it started the Wide War, and that became the new medium of the shape of cinema. And after, a lot of movies were came out in this aspect ratio, so that they maintained their milestone as a cinema standard until the year of 1957, when VistaVision were came out. Let's talk about VistaVision. VistaVision took the regular 35mm screen and turned it horizontally. I would say that sane strategy. By the way, this allowed the picture to be captured in a larger space. The picture becomes more wider with an aspect ratio of 1:85. Well, back in the days of early 16s where everyone were as obvious rushing for widescreen, a small company called Panavision arrived. They started manufacturing anamorphic lenses to fill up the shortage of camera lenses back then. They became a huge success and used it for developing and acquiring new camera systems and format, which including MGM65 using 70mm film to capture images more wider but not taller, and used the aspect ratio of 2:76. Now we have the knowledge of how each kind of aspect ratio came and manipulated the shape of cinema.
So unfortunate, so unnecessary.
Now here is the question comes. How many? How many aspect ratios are there we can go with?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
and where we have got stuck by the limitations of our today's technology. By the evolution of our cinema standards, we have got lots of aspect ratios. Well, again, back in those days where we just only had the taller or a wider screen, but thanks to today's technology, we have got varieties of shapes and aspects. We got academic ratio of 1/37, Cinerama ratio of 2/59, CinemaScope of 2/35, VistaVision of 185/1, Super Panavision of 2/20, MGM65 of 2.76/1, and the infamous IMAX which has the biggest aspect ratio of 1.43/1. So it results as a very large image that captures almost a fully wider and fully taller view, and it looks really immersive. Nowadays, 16:9 has become the standard of television screen format.
I'm listening.
Why it became the standard? Cause every TV nowadays made by this aspect ratio supports almost each and every format we have seen back then. But not only for TVs. This became the standard of mobile displays, computer monitors, graphic display resolutions. It's been usual. If you are making a film or even a video on YouTube, you have to make it on 16:9. But if you're experimental with the choices for the shape of your project, you can also go with 9/16, which is 16:9 but vertically. Some years ago, a movie trailer came out called All Stars Are Dead used the aspect ratio. You can go with 5:1, which will look like this. I don't know why you will do it, but you can. And that's another thing you can do is subscribe the channel. It will help me a lot. You can also go with 3.2/1. Who wrote this? Which is a little similar to 5:1, but it's often used in digital as an advertisement. Yes. But it's often used in digital advertisement. All I wanted to say is we can go with any aspect ratios we need nowadays. But here comes the problem. Which one? Which one is the best for my project? See, it depends. It depends on some things, including what story you are telling. Every type of story has its own point of view, and it needs a shape to be seen. Fortunately, we have got some examples of films that uses aspect ratios while conveying a message. There is a film came out in 2017 called A Ghost Story. Used this boxed aspect ratio of 4:3, which makes it more claustrophobic, and we start feel the same as how the ghost is feeling. Trapped. Also, it looks like a Polaroid video as we are watching someone's memory. In The Hateful Eight, Quentin Tarantino shot this film on an old camera, which makes it more cramped and gritty. It given us the idea of the world building of this film is too small. But if your world is larger and need more space to be shown, you have to go with some bigger and larger aspect ratios. If you are making a serious crime thriller, your world building is most probably be so cramped, and the perspective of evidences will be hidden around your black bars. So for these such kind of films, the ideal ratio would be 2:1, 4:3. Comedy, or if you say satirical genre, is mostly exposed. There is nothing to hide and nothing to be cinematic. So their popularly used aspect ratio is. So, if you are still confused between aspect ratios, don't be worried about it. Cause in these days, we have the luxury to change aspect ratios within the film. Many filmmakers are doing this. Christopher Nolan will be an epitome of it. Christopher Nolan uses two different kind of cameras in his films for different aspect ratios. Regular one and the IMAX one. Speaking of IMAX, Nolan loves using IMAX cameras in his films, not just because it can capture high definition images, but also it can capture images more wider and more larger screen format. And the aspect ratio fits perfectly in almost every screen. So that it makes the difference between scales.